Blake Griffin isn't the same player he was in 2019 when he, Kyrie, KD, and Harden were all named All-Stars, but still, just hearing that Blake Griffin joined this Nets team with this big three, it feels like something that only happened in 2K, and yet it's a reality. The Nets are NBA Finals contenders because of their three current All-Stars, but their other guys, including Blake, are also necessary for this team to become what it can be in the playoffs. Brooklyn is building a team that plays positionless basketball on both ends of the court. So what can Griffin add to this group? And do the Nets need more defense? Let's get into that today on The Void. To best understand how Blake Griffin impacts the Nets, let's analyze the team's unsung hero, Bruce Brown, who's 6'4", 202 pounds, and played point guard his whole life up until this season in Brooklyn. Now, he's playing minutes at center on offense and doing all the things you'd typically see taller players do. Brown plays like a big on offense. He crashes the boards, stays ready for dump-off passes near the rim, and screens a ton in the pick and roll. The Nets frequently utilize him as a screener for Irving or Harden, and he can shred defenses while diving to the rim for big dunks. Or he can use his guard skills to finish with finesse over size. In overtime against the Spurs, Brown goes to screen for Harden, but the Spurs trap to get the ball out of Harden's hands, and that opens up a pass to Brown on the short roll. Look at all the space he has to play with. He can drive to score and has potential passing lanes to shooters. Here, Brown just takes the floater. Griffin can play a similar role, scoring with skill around the rim, and against the trap, he has the size to overpower defenders. He won't be dunking like this anymore, but he can still put the ball on the floor and use a pump fake to create space for a layup. Playmaking remains his greatest strength. It's easy to imagine Blake in place of Brown here. The Spurs trap Harden again, and Brown gets the ball on the short roll. Then the defense rotates to stop a layup, and that opens up Kyrie for a three. The threat of a Harden or Irving pull-up forces defenses to pressure them. It's similar to how Steph and Draymond picked apart defenses for years. Think of it as Harden, Irving, or Durant being in the Steph role, and Brown or Griffin in the Draymond role. I asked Blake Griffin about his thoughts on that.
You know, I've had a lot of experience in that. I'm familiar with that. This team's obviously a little bit different, but the more we get those reps in, the better I'll feel. And, you know, I'm comfortable doing sort of multiple things out of that offense. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll watch film from earlier in my career. And, you know, I always have that thing where I'm like, I wish I had seen it this way, so I think all those things combined, just where I'm at in my career and also having all that experience, you see the game differently. So I sort of watch those clips, and I sort of wish that I had what I know what I know now. So I hope to put that to use here.
Brown can be used either as a small ball center or as a slasher alongside another big. Here, he finds Blake's old friend from LA, DeAndre Jordan, for a lob dunk. Griffin could do the same things as a scorer going toward the rim against tough defenders like Gobert, and he can hang in the dunker spot like their more traditional bigs, DJ and Nick Claxton, for dump-offs and rebounds. He can also spot up from three like Brown and Jeff Green often do. Blake is a better facilitator than any of them, though, whether he's handling the ball, rolling to the rim, or distributing from the elbows. Griffin isn't the same player he was in his prime, but he can handle these responsibilities. Brooklyn currently has the #1 offensive rating in league history, so you might be commenting, hey Kev, but the Nets don't need more offense. What they need is defense. And yeah, you'd be right. Their 26th ranked defensive rating is lower than any team that's ever won the title. The lowest is the 0-1 Lakers, who ranked 22nd. Even Nets head coach Steve Nash agrees they need to be better.
It's a non-negotiable if we want to reach our best level. So we have to buy in. We have to understand what we're trying to do, what our principles are, make clean reads and decisions, and play together down there. So guys have improved, turned a corner, however you want to put it, at the defensive end, where at least now we are cleaner with our decision-making, our connections with one another, and are starting to have little stretches in the game where our defense is strong.
There's a chance the Nets can't flip the switch with their effort or their communication, but that's why it's important to get even more offense. Brooklyn needs to be prepared for every possible playoff matchup so the offense can still create every possible offensive advantage. Brown might be the right option in a series against a team that can't handle switching guard-on-guard screens, but against a team that can abuse the offensive boards, going with a bigger guy like Claxton, DJ, and now Griffin could make most sense. The Nets are building an offense that can match up with anyone. They can play big or small, they can play with 4-out spacing or more traditional with DJ at the 5. All of this is meant to maximize what Durant, Harden, and Irving can do offensively, while also providing support on the defensive end. So I asked Nash about the value in having all these different stylistic options in his front court.
It's great options to have. We've found a way for Bruce to play, like you said, in the front court. Offensively, we've found a way to incorporate Nick back quickly from a long layoff. DJ, I think, has found a real connection with James, which has helped him. You go down the line, Jeff Green gives us versatility. Blake theoretically gives us versatility if we can get him back. And at times, Kevin can play the 5. So there's options there. I think there's a lot of work to be done to know exactly what we have, what our best rotations are. But versatility, though, is really important in the modern game. And so it's something that we do have at this moment.
The Nets defense is coming along this season. In the 3 weeks leading up to the All-Star break, they were 16th in defensive rating. Average. That's an upgrade for them. What's most encouraging about their defense is their adaptability. The Nets can play a more traditional style when they choose to, like they did against the Pacers and Magic. DeAndre Jordan dropped in pick and rolls because their opponents lacked the perimeter scoring threat to make them pay, and they had DJ just man up against Sabonis and Vucevic, showing the strength necessary in post battles. But against teams without a talented big to stop, like against the Clippers and Spurs, they played smaller and switched a ton of screens with Claxton and their guard-turned-center, Bruce Brown. Both of them played a more significant role. Here, Landry Shamet gets switched onto Kawhi Leonard, which is a no-no for the defense, but the Nets swarm to pressure him. Brown ends up getting a fingertip on the corner 3 by Beverly. That's good defense, except they gave up the offensive board. Nick Claxton is their 6'11" second-year big who allows them to stay switchable and aggressive, but also retain size. He showed his rim protection here, rotating to stop a dunk attempt. He also has the quick feet to keep in front of guards on a consistent basis. Come playoff time, he may end up their most important big. But Claxton is only 215 pounds. Griffin is the guy who can do a little bit of everything. He's way bigger than Brown, and at 250 pounds, he adds more strength than Green or Claxton. Griffin is quicker than DJ too, so they can retain their switchability or play a drop-style coverage. Griffin gives Nash another option, and even though he's not a lockdown defender, he is an excellent communicator. Brooklyn's issues are largely due to effort. The stars are coasting, they're slacking on ball, and when closing out to shooters, which leads to opponents easily driving by for layups. Communication has been problematic too, though. Griffin should help there. He always talks, and he does a good job directing his teammates around the floor, and right here it leads to a stop. The Nets are 12-2 so far this season when they hold their opponents under 115 points. In the playoffs, this team will have so many options, so many different types of bigs that I really do believe if their stars start playing with effort, they can hold their own defensively enough for the offense to win it all. We still don't even know exactly what Brooklyn will look like. The team still has the ability to make a trade by sending out Spencer Dinwiddie, or they have the roster spot to sign a player that might get bought out. At a later date, as the playoffs approach, we will definitely be doing a video breaking down Brooklyn's defense way more in depth. Beyond Brooklyn's title hopes, it's honestly just exciting to see how Griffin's aging game will translate in a winning context compared to the losing teams he's been on in Detroit. We've seen a mellow resurgence in Portland. Vince Carter managed to hang around until he was 43 by becoming a spot-up shooter. Dwight Howard just won a title with the Lakers and will compete for another with the Sixers. The past 2 years, Griffin has been going through the growing pains of a player feeling their own mortality. But the Nets, maybe they could provide him the right amount of support to appropriately adjust as he ages. The Nets have proven this season that they are able to put players in positions to maximize their strengths. That bodes well for Blake and for the entire team with their ability to use dramatically different looks out there on the court, which keeps them unstoppable offensively. And if Brooklyn's defense can just be better than average, it's a wrap for the rest of the East. Thank you for watching The Void. Please comment below or hit me up on social media. I want to know what you think about Blake's fit with the Nets. Thanks to Dylan Berkey, Ronick Nair, and our entire team for making The Void. A special thanks to my good friend and our former producer, Sean Yu, who's moving on from The Ringer, but did outstanding work with us doing The Void. Please like this video, share it with your friends who love the NBA, and subscribe to The Ringer. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a fun day.